Hello folks, Jason Chrisman, JC's Bees, your Central Ohio beekeeper. Today's video I want to do a little bit of myth busting, I guess, and I'd like to do a lot more starting in July. So if you have any beekeeping myths that you would like to see busted, leave them down in the video comments. And in July, we're going to do some myth busting. But today, we're going to kind of touch on the myth busting. And here's the topic we're going to go on. Seeing eggs is a sign of a healthy, active queen. Do you believe this is true? We've all heard that if you go through the hive and you don't see the queen, it's all right to say the queen's just fine if you see eggs. Have you heard that? I know I've heard it many a times. Well, this isn't actually true. And here's why. Because if something would happen to your queen and you still see eggs, you could have a laying worker. And a laying worker, which I have a video on, can be its own headache within itself. A laying worker is just a regular worker bee that's resorted to laying eggs. And in most cases, these laying workers will lay several eggs per cell. And these eggs are unfertilized, which makes them all drones. So if you start to go through your colony and you pull out frame, and you say, wow, this frame looks good. There's brood of all ages. I see different sized larvae. They're starting to put caps over here. Things look good. You go to the next frame and you work your way through the colony and you never see the queen. In your mind, you're thinking, well, I seen eggs. I seen larvae. They were starting to put capping on the cells. Things look good. You return a week later and you pull those same frames of brood out and you're now noticing that the capping on the cell is rounded like a 22 shell, like the tip of a 22 shell. Those are drone cells. And the reason all of those are drone cells is because you have a laying worker. So the answer to seeing eggs as a sign of a healthy, active queen, that isn't the case. That is false. Completely false. Now, I will say this. If you go through the hive and you see brood of all ages and you see flat cappings, then most likely your queen is probably healthy and active. But don't rely on just the fact that you've seen eggs or larvae as your proof that the queen is doing good. You need to have cappings on some of those, or a lot of those, and on several frames, and on each inspection. If you start to notice all you've got is drones, you've got a laying worker, and this myth has been busted. It is not true. So at any rate, I want to do more in-depth myth busting where we actually get interactive with the colonies, set up some different scenarios, and move forward to see if the myth is either true or if it's false. And I plan to do a lot of these in July. So if you have ideas for these, leave them down in the video comments or go over to my Patreon page and look for the post or the Q&A that I did last week on this topic and list it underneath of that. That will help give me some ideas, and from there I can move forward. One of the myths that I want to bust is bananas. A lot of people say that bananas mimic the smell of the alarm pheromone. Well, we're going to find out next month. And some other beekeeping news I'd like to discuss. I'm working with Blythe Wood Beekeeping Supplies, and they're going to be sending me a Guardian entrance, the lower and the upper, and I'm going to be doing some experimenting with those entrances. Now, if you're not familiar with the Guardian is an entrance that pretty much restricts the entrance of small hive beetles. So we're going to set it up. I'm going to show you how it sets up. We're going to give it a few weeks, maybe a month, and then come fall, we'll go through it. We'll see if there's any hive beetles and see how well these Guardian entrances actually work. So that's something I'm really interested in playing with, and I can't wait till those entrances get here so I can check them out. And some other news. You remember the draw out boxes that I made over the winter? I did a couple videos on them. I was planning to use those draw out boxes for mini mating nukes, but I stuck, if you remember another video I recently did, I stuck one of those draw out boxes on my farm hives to get it drawn out. Well, last week I went through and did did some inspections up at the farm, and check out the draw out box now. I'm going through my draw out box that I made for my mini nukes, and I'm excited to tell you, if we look down in here, you can see comb. Let's pull a frame of that out and see what it looks like. Look at that. Loaded with nectar. Very excited about this. Oh, we got some drawing out on this side too. Pretty cool. Pretty impressive, huh? It kind of intriguing me a little bit to leave that box on there, let the bees draw it out. I mean, that's a little bit of money sitting there for cut comb. And wow, I've never even sold cut comb before, but I'm already excited about it, I tell you that. So I think what I'm going to do is leave that one there, let the bees fill it up with nectar, cap it off, and I'm going to sell a little bit of cut comb. Why not? Give it a try. And then what I'll do is I'll take another one of my draw out boxes up there, let them draw it out, and use it for my mini mating nukes. But anyway, I was pretty excited to see some nectar in some of those frames. That's where we are right now, and that's my plans for the next few weeks and my videos. If you have any suggestions, please leave them down below. I look forward to reading over those and maybe putting some of them into action. If you enjoyed this video, throw me a big thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do so, and make sure you click on that little bell so you get notified when I release new videos. And I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next week.